Hi everybody, I'm Nita Farahany. I'm a professor of law and philosophy here at Duke University. And I'm going to speak briefly about my research on the ethical frameworks and analysis in AI, and on my work for the Athena Institute. And it really comes in three parts. And so I'm going to speak to those three parts briefly and welcome questions and answers that might follow. So the first is to serve in a role of an ethics consultant across the different thrusts, whether that's in the design process of research as ethical issues arise, or as people are considering the different implications and applications. This is a role that I've served in on a number of different grants, and I do it both in an emerging tech capacity, but also here for AI. I have a team who is familiar with and regularly does these different ethics consultations, and these can take different forms. It can be something as simple as a researcher reaching out to us to let us know that something has arisen either in the design or arisen in the process. This is both responsible conduct of research, but also in trying to think about the implications of their research as they start to write up the research and start to think about the broader implications. It can also be in trying to address some of the ethical implications of a technology and trying to decide what that means for design itself, whether that's new research inquiries and others. I'm open for collaborations in any context to do so, but this means that we're sort of open for business at any point in time for people to reach out to us. And I'll talk about how we will be reaching out to you also much more directly so that you'll have a better sense of what we do and what we can offer. Part of that is to think about ethics by design, and this is embedding ethics in the design of research projects and research studies. This can be things like thinking about privacy and design features of the study, whether that is something like an application or a technology that's being developed and trying to think about what user controls or user interfaces look like. That could be something like a federated learning model and trying to design what different issues would come up with respect to privacy. It's also issues like safeguarding against bias, thinking about data sets and training sets, thinking about that both from a technological perspective, but also thinking about it from the design itself. It's issues like security and data management, broader data management and privacy issues, and how to increase trust in the process, both within the research community, but also within society more generally. A big area of my own personal research, it focuses much more broadly, not on the responsible conduct of research, but on the ethical implications of AI research and advances. This is issues like thinking about transparency, changes to humanity in our interactions with technology and with each other, issues like bias, so implicit bias and explicit bias that reveals itself through the processes of AI and that are ultimately reified through different technologies. It's the issues like cybersecurity and more broadly security issues. Thinking about the implications for workforce, such as de-skilling of workers, or changes in what work means or the dignity of work for individuals. A lot of my work focuses on safeguarding against misuse in society and trying to develop guidelines, ethical guidelines, legal parameters that can help inform that, and trying to recognize the implications of trust and overtrust that arises as a result of AI systems. What this means is I'm writing white papers, research papers, and doing surveys of the public. I'm also working with international organizations that are developing AI frameworks. And as you're doing the write-up of your different research studies, I strongly encourage you to collaborate with our team so that as you're writing both the broader implications of your research, you're thinking about the ethical implications and also helping guide others to think about what the ethical implications of your research are. We can do that by offering collaborations in the write-up, helping you to brainstorm what those are, providing you citations, as well as pointing you to a lot of the resources that are available with respect to frameworks that are developing in this space. The third major thing that I'll be doing on the grant is developing ethics modules. So we've started this process, and I'm going to show you a little video that helps you understand the process in more detail, where we're trying to develop essentially a flipped classroom model of materials that can be used by researchers, that can be used by professors, embedded in their courses, and can help be something that serves as a training material for students at every level, whether it's at a professional level, at an undergraduate level, graduate students, the research community, and the public writ large. This video that I'll show you will guide you through the process that we are ultimately developing these modules. But one thing that I'll be doing is reaching out to all of the thrusts and to the different researchers on each of the thrusts to conduct an interview either with me or with a member of my team, because we're using those interviews together with hundreds of other interviews that we have both conducted and are conducting of people in industry, in the government, in international organizations and nonprofit organizations, to try to develop a case study based method that's then introduced by and narrated by a faculty member to tie all of those pieces together. So watch and see the process by which we're doing this.
Not sure the song.
Nita, your sound is not on or not shared, maybe.
So it's fine. Yeah.
AI researchers who are best placed to understand their own training data.
Sorry, are you able to hear that?
No.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And algorithms have a duty to proactively monitor their own models. This is important because algorithmic bias based on underrepresented training data extends well beyond facial recognition to many other machine learning applications.
Hao Li also showed us a prototype technology he's developing that allows his assistant to become digitally someone else. The screen on the right is his own face and facial expressions. The screen on the left is his avatar. This technology can be uncanny.
Today, we're going to explore several examples of algorithms and AI-driven decision-making. And we're going to talk to technologists and innovation experts about when and why they remain opaque. We'll talk about some instances where it might be necessary or even beneficial to keep the algorithms or how they work inside the black box. We'll talk to advocates of explainable and interpretable AI who believe that there's little technological reason for algorithmic decision-making to remain inside that black box.
Right, so you see what the first 28 are that we have planned. Our expectation is that as we go through the interviews with everybody on the Athena team, that those modules may shift and change over time. Our hope is that in conversations with you and in our understanding of your research and the broader implications of your research, that we'll be able to build additional modules over time that can both complement your work, but also help inform the public much more broadly about the ethical implications of this research. So I'll leave it there, turn it over to the next team who are presenting on the educational piece, and I look forward to your questions.